The inevitable truth of life is things tend to make more sense the second time around. Merry meet my fellow bookish witches. Welcome to Witchy Reads, a place where we talk about books and other bookish things. Today, I want to talk about life, the afterlife, and what it means to get a second chance. Redemption. It's what's on the other side of forgiveness. But just because you're forgiven doesn't mean that you've been redeemed. So what does it mean to actually earn redemption, to get a second chance at righting a wrong? The idea of characters being able to get a second chance speaks to readers on a fundamentally human level. Deep down, we all want that reassurance that no matter what mistakes we make in life, redemption can always be an option. In storytelling, a character being granted a second chance can be a wondrous thing, leading to a heroic do-over or even an enlightened fresh start. This trope might be more familiar to readers of the romance genre as the second chance romance. Its main objective is giving characters a second chance at what would normally be a once-in-a-lifetime love.
Look, I know I don't deserve it, but I would love another chance.
Other genres that are known to use this trope are coming of age or fantasies, usually incorporating the hero's journey. It is easier for readers to relate to characters who fail or have a falling out, learn from that mistake and grow, to then ultimately be reunited or redeemed. By receiving that second chance, a character can now reach their full potential. And if you're a reader who loves this kind of character growth, this trope can be a huge dopamine rush. This world is hard on a lot of people in a lot of different ways. When the gods find a mortal who can place the well-being of others above their own gain and comfort, well, isn't the world better for having that person in it, alive and well and doing what they do best? Doesn't the world need more of that? The Penance of Valentine Cash by Rebecca Rook is a young adult fantasy that tells the story of Valentine Cash after she and two other people are in a fatal car accident. The story primarily takes place in the challenging and often darkly whimsical afterlife.
Oh, fuck.
Before the accident, Valentine was an up-and-coming musician who is now desperate to get back to the life she always dreamed of. Her wish is semi-granted when three legends of old living in the casino of the afterlife present her with a choice. Complete a penance for your unfavorable transgressions to return to your normal life. No questions asked. Listen, a penance is an act of sacrifice, yes? Contrition and sacrifice to pay for a transgression. So what's the catch? Well, if Valentine fails in completing the penance, she will suffer the final death. No do-over, no second chance.
We doth seek thine judgment.
Despite the risks, Valentine agrees to the penance and is then assigned a guide and wayfinder in the character of Six. He is just one of many legends of old in the afterlife and is the personification of Route 66, also known as the Mother Road of America.
The glorious jewel strung on the necklace of Route 66. The Mother Road.
Six also brings his dog-like companion along for the journey. His name is Church. Church isn't technically Six's pet, nor is he a normal dog. He can speak telepathically and has other magical abilities not yet shared in the story. The rules of the penance seem simple enough. Complete the 12 tasks with Six and Church providing transport and guidance only, no interfering with completing the actual tasks. And once Valentine has completed those tasks, she will be returned to her life. But Valentine quickly realizes that she may be in over her head, with each of the assigned tasks becoming more challenging and deadly. On top of all of that, she is beginning to have dreams of the two other people who were unalived during the same car accident that unalived her. They were a couple. They did nothing wrong. And because of Valentine, not only are they dead, but they aren't given the opportunity of a second chance. And because of this, she begins to doubt herself. Why should she get this opportunity? what makes her worthy of redemption? As someone who really gets into the characters of a story, I really wish that the second chance trope was much more prevalent in stories because it is a great way to showcase a character's growth through their journey. Depending on how the book is written, it culminates in this great redemption. To fully appreciate the mechanics of this trope, I'm gonna go ahead and break down the basic story beats. First, you'll want to set the stage by focusing on a specific character. Usually, of course, this would be the main character. The point of this is to demonstrate the character's past, what their personality was like before the character begins their redemption journey. This gives readers a point of reference, who the character is at the beginning, and also possibly to lay the groundwork of who they could become. That's why it's important that as the reader learns about the character, their personalities, their flaws, for writers to include seeds of hope, so readers know that the character will evolve and redeem themselves throughout the book. Second, the character has to experience a fallout or failure. After we've set the groundwork and have gotten to know the character, the next step is to reveal their transgression. It's their "to err is human" moment. What mistakes brought them here? What circumstances happened to have them end up in this position? Was it a situation of bad timing, miscommunication, or, as in the Penance of Valentine Cash, a life-altering incident? The point of the failure or transgression is to make it dramatic but justified. Stories who use this trope usually present this failure or transgression in one of two ways: chronologically, in an ordered sequence of events, or anachronically, using a series of flashbacks and flash forwards. The second option is actually the most common narrative device to use with the second chance trope. Third, they finally get their redemption. In most stories, this is an action that redeems the character. This can be done by clearing up that miscommunication, having them come to a great epiphany, or simply growing over time. When done well, this will leave readers with a heartwarming ending that satisfies that character's growth. The best part of the second chance trope is how well it can resonate with readers. In the end, part of the human experience is being able to give and receive second chances to those who grow and earn it. Much like the Greek myth it is based on, the theme of earning redemption is meant to play a key part in the Penance of Valentine Cash. However, I found the need for Valentine's redemption a little wanting. The point of reference we get for Valentine prior to the deadly accident is that she is career focused, and we are made to think she is also forsaking her own family in the process of seeking this dream career of being a musician. However, we learn in the text that her family semi-disowned her first when she came out to them. Valentine is a lesbian. She left her home and an unsupportive and presumed bigoted family to pursue her dream. I don't want to sit here and potentially victim blame this character because it seems like her only big flaw is that she is so focused on her career that everything else doesn't matter in her life, including the people in her life. I found it hard to really dislike anything about the character. Sure, she does come off as a bit naive and not very world-traveled, but while her age is never explicitly mentioned in the text, this book is marketed as young adult. I guessed, based on other information in the text, that she is more than likely about 19 years old. She would still be considered a child in a lot of ways, so I can forgive a bit of tomfoolery on her part. Up until the accident that is her fault, I didn't feel she had committed any serious transgressions that needed redemption. The big thing with the car accident is that it happens because she happens to glance at her cell phone because her parents are calling her. Her parents, mind you, who disowned her and she hasn't spoken to in years. Now, an argument could be made that her focus on her career, excluding all other things, could be seen as avarice or the ultimate sin of greed. I personally think there should have been a much stronger reference point. Not that I wanted her to necessarily be a villain. There needed to be something a little bit more for her to work towards. Instead, it is the journey leading up to that redemption that I found the most fascinating and emotionally fulfilling for the character. A big part of Valentine's journey is her budding friendship with Six and Church, which again could be a sign that another part of her redemption is simply being able to allow others into her life. They are a dynamic trio, and I absolutely adore them.
Well, since we're becoming friends, like Ross and Phoebe.
Weird combo to pick, but okay.
It does feel like Six's role as guide and wayfinder feel limited for plot convenience. It does feel like he genuinely cares about her based on the actions he takes to assist and comfort her throughout the penance. I have to say also, it was really nice to encounter a story where there was no chance for the friendship to be muddied by romance, unrequited or not. There are so few stories that show genuine friendships, especially between a man and a woman. It just pulled at all the right strings. I love it. I love them. Speaking of Six being Valentine's wayfinder, the travel mechanics to and from the casino in the afterlife are also super fun. The afterlife limbo, where Valentine receives her task from the Legends of Old, is a casino, complete with slot machines, live performances, and a bar. Imagine a downtown Las Vegas casino, not a casino on the Vegas Strip. If you know, you know. This casino acts as the central hub of this afterlife. It is Six's job as Valentine's wayfinder to take her through different doors from that casino that transports them off to various locations across the United States, depending on where they need to go and what tasks they need to complete. Some examples of this are a Waffle House or the frozen aisle of a convenience store. It is very clever and it was very cute. I actually really enjoyed this travel mechanic. This is part of the world building that I would consider the whimsical part of it. I thought it was really well done. I could envision an afterlife limbo looking exactly like this. Then, of course, there are the tasks of the penance themselves. These are assigned by 3 legends of old who stay back in the casino. Dale Wright, a folk hero for musicians who was the only one who seems to really care about Valentine completing the tasks. Jean de Conqueror, I believe I'm pronouncing that right, or High John. He is a folklore of African American folklore linked to the roots of the Ipomea purga flower that is used in hoodoo traditions and folk magic. He is more apathetic to Valentine. Every scene he appears in, he just kind of seems to be bored. And then there is Paul Bunyan, or Polly as he is referred to in the book. He was the folk hero that I knew a little bit more about. He is a lumberjack of American and Canadian folklore who usually is accompanied by his giant pet blue ox named Babe. Babe, unfortunately, doesn't make an appearance in this story. I wish the book had gone into more detail for these legends, more context, more backstory for them. I know very little about Paul Bunyan. He was the only one I really knew about. I love learning about different folklore, different legends, essentially, like the story mentions. I would have loved to have gotten just a little bit more information. The information I do have, I got from Googling them as I read the story because I personally was interested to know who these legends were. Gods and legends are beings, I guess, or entities, imbued with enough belief and lore to elevate them to something more. Simply put, gods and legends are formed by belief and powered by potential and hope. It was kind of disappointing to me in terms of those three legends. They felt more like NPC characters, only there to give and receive the tasks of the penance to Valentine.
Hello and skip. There's a drag skip. The cat skip. Skip. Skip.
And while a part of me really wished that they had done more, I will admit it didn't necessarily hinder the story, since the story was primarily focused on Valentine's penance and journey. Now, the penance tasks vary and increase in difficulty as Valentine completes them. Some tasks involve engaging, capturing, or luring certain creatures of folklore to varying degrees of terrifying. Other tasks involve retrieving magical objects from dangerous locations or completing intense acts of service not normally suited for mortals in trade for said magical objects. The descriptions of each of the tasks as they are assigned to Valentine are extremely well done and make you feel the danger associated with them. The story does a great job in utilizing the fear of the other characters to showcase just how terrifying the tasks are. But and there is a big but, unfortunately. There seems to be a tone disconnect from describing the task to when Valentine is actively completing the task. It never shifts from an almost easygoing description to a full-fledged action scene. And I feel like this is just a weakness in the writing that Rook will definitely be able to perfect over time. It was just something I noticed and almost had a way of taking me out of the story while Valentine was completing the tasks, which you really don't want to do because the tasks are like the big action sequences. They need to be large and all-consuming emotionally and physically for the character, and I just didn't feel that in the story. This is probably the biggest flaw in the book. I would have loved for these scenes to receive the gravitas that they clearly deserved. For me personally, the Bell Witch encounter is the absolute most terrifying penance task that Valentine receives. She seems to be this really dark, twisted entity with insane power. I looked up the lore on her and man, is she a piece of work. What's also great about the tasks is that all of the challenges deal with different lore around the United States. I love that. I love American folklore and I love learning new stories that I didn't know before, and this book has plenty. It kept me occupied on the Google machine for quite a bit. I now have some very cool places around the United States that I would love to visit. I'll admit I did enjoy falling into the various online rabbit holes as I read this book. Interwoven through Valentine's journey are scenes of her experiencing dreams or nightmares involving the couple in the car accident. She sees their childhoods, how they met. Then she sees the life they would have had they survived the car accident, growing old, having children, and just enjoying their life together. If anything in the story proves that Valentine is not inherently a bad person, it is in this. Those dreams weigh heavy on her, and she begins to doubt herself. And this, of course, is potentially dangerous if she is distracted during one of the tasks and fails. But she has to ask herself, why does she deserve this second chance at life and they don't? What is it about her life that is worth returning to? Because now she's really not so sure. When she does ultimately complete her penance, this is the issue that makes her stall if she should return to her life. In having the character contemplate this, it feels as if this is the true final task of the penance.
But I am seriously worried that I did something wrong, and this is the universe getting back at me.
What can she do to fix what she did to these two people? Well, for her, it's to trade her music for their lives, her talent, her record deal, to give this couple a second chance at life. When she presents this offer to the legends, they are taken aback, but not really surprised, further confirming for me that this was truly the final task of the penance. Then Six and Valentine say their goodbyes, and I am just not okay. I will never tire of saying how much I love their friendship. Them saying goodbye was sad. It really made me emotional, and I definitely appreciated not just the growth that Valentine had, but the growth that both of them had in their friendship.
I'll say this to you, my friend, with all the love in my heart. Take it sleazy.
So Valentine is sent back to Earth, to the time just before she gets into her car and then gets into the car accident. As she takes in her surroundings and just appreciates being alive again, Dale Wright appears and explains that the Legends are proud of the trade she made, her music, for the couple's life. They feel that taking just the record deal is enough. So that's all they took. They allow her to keep her musical talent. She gets to continue living and making amazing music her way to make the world a better place. It is a bittersweet ending, which even with the ambiguous setup, feels perfect in how Valentine grew as a character. I requested this title as one of my recent ARC reads. I am pretty picky about the ARC books that I request. For this one, it was definitely the cover, a beautiful depiction of the duality of Earth and the afterlife, and the book synopsis ultimately was the reason I requested the book. The synopsis does mention that this is a modern reimagining of the Greek myth, the 12 labors of Hercules. I can definitely see the comparisons here with that myth, but I also think Rook did a great job of making the story her own, which is an important component when doing a reimagining of a particularly well-known story, or in this case, Greek myth. I also like that the big thing that Rook seemed to take away from the 12 labors of Hercules, that no person is a monolith. That was what she chose to focus on for Valentine, and it shows. And again, this feeds into the idea that Valentine's penance wasn't just about the accident, but something to do with her not allowing others into her life and into her heart. As much as I love the second chance trope as a way to develop and grow characters, I personally feel that in this book, the setup fell a little flat. Another little thing that bothered me is that Six, as her guide, wasn't allowed to guide Valentine. He is heavily underutilized in that regard. So it made me wonder what the point of even labeling him as her guide was. I think it would have been a much better approach to just have him be the wayfinder. He is the one that assists in taking her to the places that she needs to go to complete the tasks, because I just feel like the guide aspect wasn't really a thing. She was supposed to be able to ask him questions. He just couldn't interfere with the tasks. There were a lot of instances where she would ask a question and he couldn't answer. It didn't feel like it was necessary to have that if he wasn't going to answer her questions. Any instance where he tried to push past that to assist, it was seen as him interfering with her tasks, when I honestly just didn't see it that way. He even gets punished for it within the story. He gets like a write-up from the Legends telling him like, watch what you're doing, you're helping a little too much. And I just feel like he wasn't helping like at all. As this keeps happening in the story, Six eventually just kind of backs off and ends up only being Valentine's wayfinder. Quite honestly, I feel like that should have just been the dynamic from the beginning. This is also an issue with the character of Church. More so even than Six. We as the reader know that Church is not just a dog, that he has special abilities far beyond what we can comprehend in the story. And yet we see none of that. It's so disappointing. I really wish we could have gotten more of what Church could do. And he even gets the same scolding that Six does in terms of interfering with the tasks. When that happens, he just completely backs off and does nothing. Aside from his friendship with Valentine, the other thing that I really enjoyed about the character of Six was the tragedy of his character, which made him so much more than just a side character, being the personification of Route 66, an American legend that is known for slowly disappearing from people's memories and stories, essentially giving him a slow, agonizing death because he is being erased from the maps of time.
Your town, nothing you can do.
It pulls at the reader's heart in such a way that I wasn't expecting, and I really enjoyed that aspect of the character. It gave so much more context and backstory without overdoing it. Then again, I love the old stories associated with Route 66 because it is something my father enjoys. So my personal connection might be affecting this. I still think the tragedy of the character was very well done. Despite the minor grievances that I've mentioned, I admittedly adored all three of the key characters, Six, Church, and Valentine. Their friendship feels so genuine and is a major reason I was so invested in the story. As a mostly character-driven reader, these characters ticked a lot of my boxes. They come away from their shared experience with genuine care for each other, and I think this is a fundamental human experience that needs to be depicted more in stories. The idea of this story being a coming of age tale with the second chance trope working its way as a secondary theme is expressed well in the text and follows through until the very end. We get to see Valentine grow empathy for others and become a stronger character by allowing those people into her circle. The Penance of Valentine Cash is a great story of what it means to grow into the good person that you always were. All the characters that are redeemed through this trope inherently have it within them to be that good person that they grow into, to take what they have learned on their journey and apply that to their hopefully more positive future. Don't become so driven that you isolate yourself. Open yourself up to others who care about you. It's one of the best ways to have a fulfilling life. I rated The Penance of Valentine Cash by Rebecca Rook 4 out of 5 stars. I thought the world building was fantastic, from the afterlife to traversing across the United States to places many don't go normally. It was such a great depiction of the underrated corners of the US, and I thought it was beautiful. I thought the challenges were interesting as well as terrifying to a degree. The characters are sweetly flawed and relatable in a way that I wasn't necessarily expecting. The ending was bittersweet, albeit a little predictable, but with everything leading up to it, I didn't mind that much. It fit the narrative, and it's one where you will walk away from this story believing that to live will be an awfully great adventure. I know this book is brand spanking new, but if you have read it and would like to discuss it further, please let me know in the comments down below. I would love to talk about this, especially since this is a trope that I don't encounter a lot, and I love that I just happened to come across this book as a requested arc. You can also let me know if you're interested in reading it, because I will definitely sing its praises. I think if you are into the classic hero's journey, coming of age narratives, and want to feel like humanity is in fact better than you think, this is a good story and might be the nice, adventurous, heartfelt read you have been looking for. If you enjoy my videos and want to support my channel, the best way to do that right now is to like this video, subscribe to my channel, and share any videos that you particularly like. It really is a huge help, and I greatly appreciate it. Until our next chapter together, merry part and blessed be.